Alright, let me tell you something about me. Oh,
Picture
my
me.
mic. Alright. This right here is my family. That's me, my mom, dad, my sister, my two brothers, and my grandpa. As you can tell, this picture was taken about 15 years ago. It's so old and everything. And around the same time, my grandpa was diagnosed with diabetes. And when he was diagnosed, our family pretty much had to change a lot of our habits, including eating and activities, space-wise. So I'll talk to you guys about what diabetes is and how it affects your family and how you can do to deal with it, like treatments or whatever. American Diabetes Association defines diabetes as a group of diseases characterized by high blood glucose level that results from defects in the body's ability to produce or use insulin. Insulin is what our body needs to absorb glucose, which is sugar, from the food that we eat. You know, if we don't have enough insulin, pretty much we have high blood sugar, and if it's not maintained properly, we could have like organ failures and stuff like that, and it's not good. And as of January 2011, the American Diabetes Association says that there is 25.8 million children and adults that have diabetes, and that's at least 8.3 of the population right now. There is 3 kinds of diabetes. Type 1 is known as juvenile diabetes. It's because it's called like that because it's mostly diagnosed when you're still young, before you hit 20. So, pretty much when you're still a kid or when you're a teenager, or whatever, you know. And type 2 is the most common one because as we grow old, we develop habits like eating fast food and everything. So it mostly develops in like overweight people, like 20 pounds and above. And the third kind of diabetes is the gestational diabetes. That happens when you're pregnant, and because when you're pregnant, I guess like your body's like all different and everything, so it goes crazy. And it happens usually around 24th week. And just because you're diagnosed with gestational diabetes doesn't mean that you'll have diabetes or your kid will have diabetes. I mean, granted, diabetes is somewhat hereditary. Like if your dad or your grandpa had it, like my family does, you might have it too. So I'm looking forward for that one. There are some of the symptoms of diabetes are including you urinate a lot, you get thirsty, all of a sudden you get hungry, fatigue, you have blurry vision, and also sometimes when you get hurt, your bruise doesn't heal quickly. It takes a while for it to heal up. And one of the things too is that when you're overweight, you suddenly lost weight all of a sudden without even doing anything. That's like one of the biggest signs of you having diabetes or about to get diabetes. If you don't control diabetes, you could have like eye problems like glaucoma, cataracts, and liver failure, and strokes. Now we know what diabetes is pretty much. We'll talk about how to take care of yourself or people that you know or love and everything. When you get, you don't self-diagnose yourself for diabetes. You gotta go to the doctor for that, and that's how hey, guess what, you got it. And when you get diagnosed, they put you in this regimen that pretty much you gotta check your blood sugar every day in the morning time, and like before you eat, and you have to maintain it, because if you go lower, you get like all groggy and everything. If you go higher, you have too much energy, and like I said, like if you have over blood sugar, your body can't handle too much sugar, so it kind of like because you don't have enough insulin, and if you have type 1 diabetes when you're so young, they give you insulin shots. One of my buddies, he used to have insulin shots that he would take insulin in front of me and everything, before we go out or anything. And when you're old, they give you pills also to kind of like just balance the the blood sugar in your body to compensate for it. And diet is one of the biggest thing for us because, like, you know, it's sugar intake that you don't watch about. So you start eating less carbohydrates and high fiber. Eat a lot of vegetable. When you're still young, you don't drink that much like soda, like sugary drinks, because you know your body gets used to it, and that's pretty much how you gain weight. And one thing is like you gotta time your meals. Pretty much like, I don't know how, it depends on the person. It could be like, you know, every 4 hours, every 6 hours, because if you go over the time limit, you lose too much energy, and you just kind of like, you don't feel good no more for the rest of the day. And one of the biggest thing is that exercising. Exercising is one of the biggest like preventative measures you can do. Go work out, take a walk, swim, join a gym, something like that. Whatever works to get your heart pumping. My grandpa, since he was kind of like he was old already, his form of exercise was he would wake up in the morning and he would pick up the leaves on our backyard. We had a big backyard, and that's all he did all day. And then at afternoon, he walked around, just hanged out, and that was his exercise. When he was diagnosed, like everything changed. Like we stopped eating fatty foods. And the picture I showed you before, I could tell my little brothers, they were pretty big, and their age, I guess. I mean, they were. And we changed our food. We stopped drinking soda. We only drink water. And also, they started joining basketball for exercise, because that's one of the things that when the doctor was telling him everything that was told to him pretty much went down to us, because we had to watch out for our own health too, to watch in order for us not to get diabetes. And these are my brothers now. They're pretty skinny compared to what they were before. And yeah, thanks.
All right, Vicky, what did you think?
2 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Tank?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed your presentation. I liked what you spoke about. Your topic was really good. And I thought you had a lot of good content. And I really enjoyed that. However, I felt like you were missing a lot of transitions. I felt like the information was a little bit choppy when you presented it. But I noticed throughout your presentation, your confidence improved a lot more, and you were able to smooth out your presentation style a lot more as you continued, and I really enjoyed that, and I thought you related to the audience very well. And that's it.
Okay. I thought that the picture for an attention device worked pretty well. We've got a good identification of the topic, and we know generally what the goal of the speech is. It could be a little bit sharper, but it was clear. And with the information about how many people suffer from diabetes, I think you've got a good justification although I do think you need to phrase it a little bit more clearly. Having the information isn't enough. You need to kind of connect it to the audience. And I think that that's not that hard to do, but it does require some effort. The supporting material, after we got the definition from the medical organization, I didn't hear any source citations. Again, I'm assuming that most of your information comes from the same medical association and from your firsthand experience. But it really, I think some of it needed to be cited a little bit more clearly, and some of it probably could have been, you could have quoted authorities and experts as a way of defining, for instance, the different types of diabetes instead of kind of winging your explanation through those definitions. Maybe the more professional definition would be more succinct, clearer, and also include a little bit of the explanation instead of the more casual approach that you have there. I think that you picked a topic that the audience ought to be interested in, but they aren't going to automatically be interested in, and the thing that helps is whenever you do include your family story, I think that's something that people can relate to a little bit. I did think that the family story should be integrated throughout the presentation a little bit more, so when you're talking about examples of people having to change their diets, for instance, it would be good if you could talk about, here are particular foods that our family gave up, or here is something that my grandfather had to start eating that he had never really consumed much of before. The whole thing about the timing of the meals, for instance, that would have been one of those things where I think it would have been really natural to mention, what your family's experience was with that. Normally people would maybe eat 3 meals a day and maybe they'd have a snack during the day or something like that, but you've got a little bit more regimented, and everybody had to eat at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then everybody had to eat again at 12, and then everybody had to eat again at 4 o'clock, and then everybody had to eat again at 7. I mean, I don't know exactly what the routine was, but something that illustrates what you're talking about, and of course it would be a personal illustration also. I think that would have been something that would have added to it a little bit. The visuals, I think the family pictures are good because they connect us a little bit to what your experience was and why you're talking about that. And I think the list of the different types of diabetes, the juvenile diabetes, what's the term?
Gestational.
No, I know the third one.
Type 2.
Type 2, thank you. Type, that was the word I was looking for. I was trying to get it in there. It's in my head somewhere ringing around. No, the gestational diabetes one I remembered. Yeah, I think that was a good slide to have. I think it could have been organized a little bit more, maybe a table chart as a way of presenting it, but just the words helped a bit. But then there's other stuff that you put up later on that you make passing reference to. It's kind of in the background the whole time. It doesn't seem to be connected to what you're talking about at that particular time, and that's just one of those things that when you're planning your speech and practicing, I think would be fixed a little bit more with some extra practice. And you ended up having to turn to the screen a few times to give your speech too. Not a lot, but occasionally. So you want to be careful about that. Turning your head to double check that your slides up, I think, is fine. But then talking to the screen and reading what's on the screen to us, that I think you want to avoid as much as possible. All right, thank you.